It's 8 p.m. Welcome to our primetime news on Joy News at 8, live from our studios here in Kokomlemle. My name is Gifty Ando. Up here tonight, Sekou Nkrumah, the last of Ghana's first president, son of Ghana's first president, says his father's party, the CPP, is dead and would only remain relevant if it joins either the NDC or the NPP. NDC General Secretary Johnson Asiedu Nketia has called on his party supporters to restrain themselves in the light of yesterday's attack on the Ashanti Regional Chairman, who has a fractured jaw as a result. Also tonight, the presidential team has held its preliminary meeting and will explore the difference in the roles of the Independent Administrator General from that of the chairman, who happens to be the vice president. In showbiz, the crime is next in line to be a pastor. Well, that's according to the prophecies of Pastor Lord Kenya and Brother Oforian Ponsa. On the international scene, 27 people have been confirmed dead in a primary school shootout in Connecticut. All these plus the latest in sports coming up on Joy News at 8. Please stay. And now let's take the details of the stories. Following some of the challenges faced in the use of biometric verification system for this year's elections, there have been questions about whether the Electoral Commission should go back to the manual verification voters are used to, or to the principle of no verification, no vote was basically agreed upon by all the various parties with the EC. But with the verification came several problems, including the inability of the machines to detect the identities of some voters prior to voting. So did the use of the biometric verification system serve a better purpose in the general election? Well, Joy News has been finding out.
Bring this. Some voters could not exercise their franchise because the verification device rejected them, even though they were in possession of their voter's ID card and their names were in the register. Breakdown of some verification machines extending voting into a second day in some polling stations was a source of confusion between voters and EC officials.
Ya try say the best say benya replacement. Ya yes I nyahwe na yenya confirmation say say postpone na echina na ya ba na ya vote.
These challenges, however, are viewed by some political parties and voters as hazards that come with first-time application of technology procedures. Some voters and politicians told Joy News the use of verification devices in elections must not stop. They say all that needs to be done is to master the use of the device.
The biometric is the best. We can rectify the problems with the machines and then in order to perfect it. But since this is the first time, you can't expect that to be so smooth. But with subsequent distance, now that the Electoral Commission has identified the lapses, they'll be able to correct those lapses and perfect the registration and verification process.
I did not feel that the biometric verification system itself was a problem. How many of the 26,000 polling stations did this failure? Okay, you know, it's not anything close to 50% of the polling centers. The Electoral Commission should have thought of backups. Maybe redundant verification machines could have solved that problem, where a failed machine could have been quickly replaced with another machine.
Baby, I'm a basi ukoya oye anaba. Ebuwa dodo na nipa kakra na amwa. Enti no na wo say machines no wo say nya no dodo for say bia baby a ebe in backups ne do so nti anye ya na use na etimi aboa because ebuwa almost more than 90%.
The verification is good. It identifies you as a person. We rather have to improve upon it, but not to discard it, because the manual aspect, there were deficiencies. That is why it was agreed that we should use the verification. So if the verification has come, we spend money to come to this far. So we shouldn't go back to the manual. We rather have to improve upon it.
The machine too is also good, but I think if the government can bring much better than this, which will not be faulty and will not bring problems like this, I think it's good.
Conversely, others still prefer the manual verification that was used in previous elections, arguing that it is less cumbersome and cannot deny voters their constitutional right.
As for me, when I put my finger on it, it verifies me. Like you should go back because I don't understand that the person has registered, and when you read it, they say, this, this thing is nothing. I don't think it's fair.
Not only do PPP and PNC want the continuous use of the biometric verification device, they have also proposed the adoption of the electronic voting system as used by countries like Brazil to help reduce voting fraud.
The tabulation of the results employed antique methods, antiquated methods of pencil and paper and eraser. I think we are beyond that. We think that we should fully go the electronic way. There are examples of a fully electronic system in Brazil and Mexico, and we should study how they have conducted their elections and believe that we should adopt that system. It will make recording of votes almost instant.
The PNC is advocating that the Electoral Commission should pursue electronic voting process instead of this manual counting and whatnot.
For those who were disenfranchised because the verification device rejected them, the use of the device in subsequent elections may not sound good to them. But others still appreciate the technology as they regard it as a positive advancement of the Ghanaian voting system.
Verified.
You're still watching Joy News at 8, still your election headquarters. Now, last born of Ghana's first president, Dr. Sekou Nkrumah, says his father's party, the CPP, is at a dead end, and exerting energy on its resuscitation is needless. He has therefore advised that they join either the NDC or the NPP to remain relevant.
PCP in going towards the 1996 elections, we went into the Great Alliance with the NPP, and I think that was our best performance then when we had the best performance of the CPP, having 5 seats in Parliament. I think that was the way to go. They should have built on that, but then you need to be in a working relationship because you cannot win the presidential, it's clear. So you have to build on your parliamentary base. Doing it alone, that's the result. You get nothing.
Speaking on Joy News Midday Brief today, Dr. Sekou Nkrumah intimated that the National Democratic Congress has taken over the position held by the Convention People's Party in Ghana's political terrain.
Fortunately, the smaller parties now would really need to, I guess, reconsider their position and possibly merge with either of the two, depending on how comfortable they are with the philosophy, ideology of the two parties. Because it's becoming embarrassing. I mean, the performances in elections is becoming a bit embarrassing, I think.
Would that include your father's CPP?
Well, I mean, CPP, well, Nkrumah used the CPP as a political vehicle at the time.
He says the NDC's ideology is in tune with Dr. Kwame Nkrumah's CPP.
I think without much hesitation, I could say the NDC is the new CPP. Most people who normally would have voted for CPP in the past are now voting for NDC.
Though he fell short of saying the CPP's poor performance during this election was due to bad leadership, he stressed it was an embarrassing performance which could have been averted with an alliance with either the NDC or NPP.
Yes, the poor performance has to do with leadership, but leadership in the sense of understanding the dynamics of the day and seeing where to go.
Would you take up a position with the CPP to help build the CPP?
The CPP is a dead end, so I wouldn't waste my time with the CPP. As I'm saying, the way forward is to be with NDC or NPP.
Touching on his next political affiliation, since he has already tried the NDC and NPP, Sekou Nkrumah said it was too early to make such a decision.
Well, that's Sekou Nkrumah there for you. The lead convener of pro-Mahama group Mahama Movement for Mahama and sports journalist Yao Ampofo Ankara has made a passionate appeal to the media to be circumspect with the coverage of the excesses of this year's elections in order not to overly politicize the post-election violence. He said captions which politicize deaths or other victims of the election violence only stir up anger and aggravates tension. He was speaking at the sidelines of the official launch of the Better Ghana Agenda website, designed by Movement for Mahama, MFM.
The website, betterghanaprojects.com, is expected to be a conduit to reach its audiences with information on government's top achievements, as well as offer the youth a platform to share ideas that could spur the rapid growth of the economy. The Movement for Mahama says the site will act as a watchdog over the affairs of the government.
We projected John Mahama to become president. Now that he's president, it is upon us, as people who projected him, to check him and make sure he has fulfilled all his political promises he made to Ghanaians. On the basis of those promises, that Ghanaians voted for him, that Ghanaians give us a listening ear to vote for him. So we will not sit back and allow any scandal or anything to go wrong with this government. As youth, our integrities are on the line. We are professionals. As we put our integrities on the line for him, it is for us to make sure very well, we open our eyes very wide and make sure we check him and make sure he delivered what he promised to Ghanaians.
The group says the urge to foster peace should be everybody's call. Yaumpufu Ankra suggests that regardless of who died during this period, it does no good to politicize his or her demise, urging all to play good advocacy roles in ensuring that there are no further bloodshed and that perpetrators are brought to book.
Do not follow the orders or instructions of a few who want to use you to cause mayhem. We've seen in recent times the loss of life, and we're all very saddened by it. But I think the media should also be very responsible in its reportage. And of course, this morning as I was coming, I was looking through some of the newspapers, and this is something I don't often do, to I wouldn't say attack, but to put other media houses on the block. And this is after people have died in this country. Whether it's MPP, whether it's NDC, whether it's CPP, is regardless. Precious blood has been spilled, and I'll use this opportunity to appeal to the media not to politicize that.
Nana Kweku Ajiman, who is also a leading member of the group, predicted an improvement in sports facilities in the country.
Movement for Mahama intends to liaise with government and consult with government over a number of issues, and so we've got to ensure that in the discussions that we have with government, we will bring forth valid proposals and bring our vision to the fore, which allows the government to look at the NSA and restructure it in a way in which it will begin to empower all other sporting disciplines, and whereby essentially they can lose the tag lesser known sports.
Guests at the launch urged the president-elect to make informed choices when appointing ministers to cut the prevalence of corruption in his government. The group was formed a little over 2 months ago to support John Mahama in his campaign and also help him carry out his Better Ghana agenda after election.
NDC General Secretary Johnson Asiedu Nketia has called on his party supporters in Northern Region not to engage themselves in any reprisal attacks on any NPP supporters in retaliation for attacks on NDC supporters in some part of the country, as the security is in control of the situation.
Asiedu Nketia said the NDC leadership will not back any supporter who takes the law into his hands to create any mayhem. Addressing the party's Northern Regional Victory Rally, Asiedu Nketia said the NPP promised its supporters victory at all costs with all kinds of lies only for Ghanaians to reject them, and they are now engaging themselves in political gimmickry to satisfy its supporters. He said the NDC is a party of peace and it will continue to maintain the peace and security of this nation in spite of the fact that opposition NPP is trying to provoke the NDC into creating chaos in the country.
The 2012 election has been one of the most transparent elections, one of the most peaceful elections this country has ever had since independence. And so if you see people complaining, ignore them. When you want to play football and you have one team announcing to the whole world that the football we are going to play in the next 3 months. There is nothing that is going to be acceptable to us apart from victory for our team. And now when we lose, or if we lose, then it means that the referee has not done his work well. This is the time when you have not even entered the field. This is the time when you have not seen the performance of the referee, and yet you are telling your supporters that if we lose, then it means that the referee is bad. What it tells you is that you know you are losing and you are preparing the minds of your supporters not to accept your losing.
Asiedun Ketia said the security will deal with anybody, be it the NDC or NPP, for trying to create problems in the country. He said the NDC is aware of the tricks of the NPP, some of whose supporters are now putting on NDC t-shirts and going around creating problems. He said he was at the EC office when the NPP presented what they believed to be evidence, but a thorough examination of the documents clearly showed that there was no basis for the accusations.
We have delivered peace before elections. We have delivered peace during elections. Our detractors want us to fail to deliver peace after the elections. It is not going to be on.
Northern Regional Chairman of the party, Sofo Azuka, who entertained the supporters with some Azonto dance, said the NPP leadership has never been sincere to their supporters and Ghanaians. He said the NPP, with all their lawyers, cannot still see the simple verdicts of Ghanaian electorates, and they are bent back into all kinds of lies and instigating their supporters to attack innocent people.
Indeed, peace, togetherness, unity, that's all we need. On that note, we'll take a breather here. We'll return with some more stories. Please don't go away. You're welcome back. Let's continue with the news now. Vice President Kwesi Amissah-Arthur has urged the Ghana National Fire Service to justify logistical and human resource investments made into the service with efficiency. He said recent fire outbreaks in the country raises concerns over efficiency and planning. Mr. Kwesi Amissah-Arthur was speaking at the service's graduation ceremony of Cadet Intake 12 at Shire Hills.
The Republic of Ghana.
A total of 118 fire officers passed out from an intensive firefighting training. Vice President Kwesi Amissah-Arthur said fire outbreaks have been a major source of worry to government due to the toll it has on people and the economy. He noted that in addressing this, government has retooled and resourced the service to meet the legitimate aspirations of the people.
You have managed many fire outbreaks this last year. We have sustained, nevertheless, substantial loss and disruptions to life through the fires. But apart from the economic loss, fires have also caused the loss of precious lives and traumatized many families. Precautionary measures also have to be taken through the intensification of education on fire safety measures, especially in marketplaces, to prevent human error and practices that lead to these outbreaks.
He admonished them to put to work experiences gathered from various firefighting training to reduce fire outbreaks and its impact on Ghanaians, noting government acknowledges accommodation deficiencies being faced by the service and will accordingly address them. Awards were presented to deserving students, with Cadet Officer Samuel Ofeyadade emerging the overall best. The officers were later appropriately ushered into their new roles through this symbolic exercise. Well, congratulations to all those firemen there. Now, it is said that a country without a past has the emptiness of a barren continent. And a city without old buildings is like a man without a memory. The Volta River Authority, VRA, in preserving its past, has interred documents and objects to aid in telling the story of the dam's life over the 50 years of its existence. A short ceremony was held at the Akosombo Generation Station.
The Akosombo Dam and hydroelectric power generation, built by Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, has benefited Ghanaians and become the bedrock of the nation's industrial achievements. In preserving and sending evidence of the VRA to the future, a time capsule which contains VRA's artifacts, memorabilia, technical reports, drawings, pictures and documents relevant to its past was today interred. The time capsule, which costs $20,000, is guaranteed to last 500 years, even against fire and flood damages should they occur where the capsule is stored. The commissioning of the time capsule attracted personalities, including the Paramount Chief of Akwemu, Odunahu Kwafu Akoto III, past and present chief executives and staff of the VRA. Chief Executive of the Volta River Authority, Kweku Ando Awotwe, expressed satisfaction with the time capsule and said the VRA would continue to serve the purpose of the country and also extend its services beyond the country as well.
In the next 50 years, our challenge will be even greater because we want to make sure that there's not only power in Ghana, we want to be one of the main suppliers of power in West Africa. And trust me, we have already started down that path. But we want people to assemble here again in 50 years, and I know some of you will be here, many of us will not be, and say we were there that day. We were there that day when we buried the time capsule and we captured some of the history of the Volta River Authority.
President of the Time Capsule Incorporation, Thomas Marak, who also constructed the memorial, shared how the time capsule works.
The contents are guaranteed 500 years. Where the Volta River Authority placed their time capsule in the crypt, it will go on forever. The time capsule is reusable and it's not destroyed when it's open.
The chief executive cut the sword for the commissioning of the edifice. The time capsule would be exhumed on April 26, 2061, during VRA's centennial.
The Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, is calling on all agrochemical dealers, including retailers, distributors and importers, to register with the agency as a matter of urgency to regularize their activities to avoid facing the rigors of the law. According to the Ashanti Regional Director, those who disregard the law and operate illegally will be dealt with harshly according to the law. In an exclusive interview with Joy News, he said lessons have been learned from the recent incidents at Echumaboko in the Ashanti region.
Following the chemical leakage last Thursday due to a stack of chemicals at an agrochemical warehouse at Echumaboko in the Ashanti region, leaving thousands nearly suffocating and gasping for breath, the Environmental Protection Agency is calling on all agrochemical dealers to register with the agency. The regional director, Isaac Osei, says the unfortunate incident has necessitated an aggressive search for offenders. But he admitted it is difficult looking for unlicensed warehouses. However, he promised his outfit will use every means to locate warehouses in the region and sanction owners who are not in compliance with the law.
I want to reiterate that anybody who has this kind of operations, a warehouse which they all know should be licensed and have not been licensed, should come out. And obviously there are going to be penalties leveled against those who have operated all these years without the requisite license. And as I'm telling you, letters have gone already. They are aware. We have informed them that we are meeting on Tuesday. And obviously, all measures will be taken to actually clean up the system.
Asked what sanction will be meted out to these unlawful dealers, Isaac Osei was evasive and said the right punishment will be applied.
It doesn't happen, you may not know. The person could easily register his retail shop. And you may not know whether he has a warehouse because quite a number of retailers don't deal with bulk chemicals like that. So it is only this incident that has gone to reveal that there is the probability that quite a number of them may be holding these warehouses somewhere. And therefore, we are taking the right measures to ensure that the system is cleaned up and that we will get chance to be able to monitor their activities, periodic checking to see that the right thing is being done to avoid the reoccurrence of this particular situation.
Residents in the region are worried about the health implications of inhaling pungent chemical odors, but the regional director allayed their fears by indicating that the level of oxygen in the fumes from Thursday's chemical leakage was 20%, making it not as toxic as earlier feared.
In that fumes that all of us were crying about, when they checked it, the level of oxygen was 20%. And you will agree with me that in the natural atmosphere, oxygen content or the percentage of oxygen is 21%, telling you that only 1% was off. The problem was with the odor. If it is not because of the odor, people might not have even felt anything at all. But the odor is the characteristics of that particular pesticide. And no matter what, the moment you smell it, you want to run away because it is not pleasant.
Meanwhile, the remains of the burnt chemicals at Ichimaboko were buried by applying lime to reduce the effectiveness of the chemicals at Dompoase. The Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, will be meeting the agrochemical dealers in the region on Tuesday. Asset management is a fairly new area you may know little about. The sector is, however, making inroads to offer professional guidance and technical know-how to organizations and individuals who have assets but lack what it takes to maximize their profits.
Asset management is understanding what you have, where it is, who controls it, who possesses it, its true value, and what improvements can be made to decrease losses. Control can only be implemented when accessible records are available. It is in this light that Brooks Asset Management, an independent investment firm, is offering a wide range of financial services to a diversified clientele that includes companies, financial institutions, as well as individuals. The chairman of the governing board of Brooks Asset Management, Dr. Ken Kwaku, said even though asset management is not such a familiar area in Ghana, people and organizations are realizing the need for one to manage investments in a more profiting manner.
It is a new field. It's very rewarding. See, the reward is not just the financial return. The reward is in the number of companies that you incubate and that you grow, that, and the number of people that they employ, So we are not short-term. We are very long-term, investors and very long-term advisors.
Brooks Asset Management is strategically positioned to help individuals, charities and trustees plan their financial future, meet pension obligations and improve their earnings with acceptable risk management framework. The Chief Executive Officer of Brooks Asset Management, Ben Kuja, explains why people should venture to invest their money.
We want to encourage everybody to feel they can access the financial markets. So when you come, what we require from you is not your money, it is your willpower. Your willpower is what will make you be able to invest and stay investing with Brooks.
According to Mr. Kuja, it is more profitable for one to invest with an asset management firm than to put one's money in a savings account.
Well, so after making the money and putting together all those assets, you need to manage them. Moving on, the Ghana Airports Company Limited has announced the temporary closure of the Kumasi airports to allow for some rehabilitation works. A statement issued by the management of the GACL said the Ghana Airports Company Limited wishes to inform the general public that the Kumasi airports will be closed on Tuesday, December 18, 2012 for rehabilitation works on the runway. The airport will be reopened for normal operations on Wednesday, December 19, 2012. GACL regrets the inconvenience caused as a result of the intended closure and wishes to assure the domestic airlines and the general public of its commitment to safety measures. Moving on, the United States consumers' prices fell in November due to a sharp drop in petrol prices as inflation in the economy remained weak. The Consumer Price Index fell 0.3% from October, which was the first decline since May. The gasoline index fell 7.4% in November, which more than offset gains in prices elsewhere. Stripping out food and energy cost, core prices rose by 0.1% in November, the figures showed. Over the past year, consumer prices have risen 1.8%, while core prices have increased by 1.9%. The United States economy remains fragile, and earlier this week, the U.S. Central Bank pledged to continue buying bonds to keep actual borrowing rates low until the labor market outlook improves substantially. Though the unemployment rate fell to a 4-year low of 7.7% in November, statistics suggest that much of the decline in the jobless rate since 2008 has been due to people dropping out of the workforce, either due to retirement or because they have given up seeking work. Up next, an ending business report is smart investment tips and some market data. Well, moving on, 2 Nigerians have been arrested for allegedly attempting to divert $13,978 belonging to Ghanaian peacekeepers after they had succeeded in hacking into the emails of the Ghana Armed Forces. The suspects, Peter Okechukwu, 32, and Emmanuel Ifedi, 31, were arrested by officials of the Criminal Investigations Department, CID, of the Ghana Police Service at a branch of the United Bank of Africa, UBA, in Accra, where they had gone to cash the money. We are joined on the line now by PRO of the Ghana Armed Forces, Colonel Mbaweni Atintandi, to give us some more insight on that. Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening, sir.
Welcome. Thanks for joining us. Now, how safe is the military's coffers?
Well, the military's coffers are very safe. In respect of what you're talking about, the Ghana Armed Forces is not operating any corporate email system, and therefore there is nobody who can hack into it. And so I think that we should consider that as having not okay. Having said that, I think, yes, it is true that the 2 Nigerians, as reported, managed to get into the system of the bank through which the peacekeepers, Ghanaian peacekeepers, were attempting to transfer money to a company that they have contracted to supply some goods for them. And so the clarification is that the armed forces is not operating any corporate email system that has been hacked.
But they've been able to go into the system and do all these transactions and finally got caught at the end. It means that there may be some loopholes in the system, isn't there?
What I'm saying is that the armed forces is not operating any corporate email system that anybody can hack into. And so you have to direct that question to the bank through which they were attempting to take that money. In any case, the emails that the troops are using are private emails that they have created for their own communication. And so that is what it is. But I guess that if you direct your question to the bank should be able to tell you clearly what the problem has been in that. But I can assure you that it has not affected anything.
Okay.
The money that the troops have contributed and have transferred, so has been then to get their food.
So would you bring up any case against the bank?
No, well, there has nothing to do with the bank. Once the company its money, and therefore the goods will left to the bank to do what they have in order to make sure that they are safe. So.
Okay. Well, now that we know that the covers of the Ghanaian forces are safe, I think we'll leave it there. Thank you very much, Ms. Atintande, for joining us. Well, that was the PRO for the Ghanaian forces telling us how safe their system is and how it cannot be hacked. Let's move on now with other stories. Now, the Presidential Transition Team has held its preliminary meeting today, December 12, 2012, at the Flagstaff House. The meeting, which was held behind closed doors, is expected to discuss handing over notes of government officials as well as committees for various transitional assignments, including the inauguration ceremony to be held on January 7. The transition team, under the chairmanship of Vice President Kwesi Arthur, was set up by President John Dramani Mahama on Tuesday in accordance with the Presidential Act 845. Well, President John Dramani Mahama has arrived from Equatorial Guinea, where he attended a meeting of government officials of the Caribbean states. He arrived today at about 5 a.m. He was met on arrival by some government officials here at the Kotoka International Airport, the Jubilee Lounge. So there you have it in your shots, the president arriving. He also briefed the media. So there was President John Dramani Mahama arriving from Equatorial Guinea and being escorted by the Vice President, Kwesi Arthur.
On your Joy News channel, only on Multi-TV. And we go into our first story. The Ochami Kwame Versatile Show is set to roll tonight at the National Theatre. Showbiz brings you details of who will be performing alongside Ochami Kwame himself.
The Versatile Show will be a combination of music, dance and drama all on one stage, and imagines Mini, Raquel, Efia and a host of other artists displaying their theatrical talents on the stage tonight. Fans are assured of a thrilling theatrical experience. The Versatile Show, according to Ochami Kwame, is intended to show off his versatility in music and the fact that this will be different from the usual kind of musical concerts. Songstress Raquel is one of the artists performing with Ochami Kwame on the night. Samini is also going to be there to, as usual, make his fans roll with lots of fun. Adam, Go Get Them won't be left out tonight, and many more artists like Brothers, Nanaya, Slim Basta are definitely going to mount the stage tonight. Organizers of the Ochami Kwame Versatile Show says the show will sure be delivered with panache at the National Theatre.
And And away from that, I would like to ask you one question. Would you be surprised if you met Kwesi Darlington, known in showbiz circles as D-Crime, dressed up in full clerical outfit? Well, you better not be, because two evangelists, Lord Kenya and brother of Fori Amponsa, have prophesied about D-Crime becoming a minister of the gospel, and he himself admits it is possible.
The doctor of creative rhymes you most enjoy, or D-Crime for short, comes from a family with rich musical influence. In fact, his parents, as well as most of his uncles and aunties, are into music. He says it is no surprise that he found himself in the music space. D-Crime has been off the music scene for a while now, but that is because he embarked on a tour of the hinterlands to get up close with his fans there. The idea was to let the fans get a feel of the person, D-Crime, whom they just follow on radio and TV. But it appears his trips might soon take on a different meaning. Since their elevation to the status of men of God, Brother Fori Amponsa and Evangelist Lord Kenya have at different times both predicted that the next secular musician to become a man of God is Dr. Crime. Well, Dr. Crime is not disputing the possibility of that coming to pass. In fact, he says he is a committed Christian who doesn't joke with his quiet time, and says he already preaches the word of God and has a gospel music. So, should you meet Dr. Crime in a pastoral garb, then you can be sure that the prophecy on his life by the two evangelists has finally come to pass. But who will be the next after D-Crime? Well, it could be the hit maker Kokase, aka Abodam. Who knows?
Very soon we could be calling him Evangelist D-Crime, baby. And moving on from there, in the build-up to last weekend's presidential and parliamentary polls, quite a number of celebrated Ghanaians braved the odds to openly declare their support for one candidate or the other. One such celebrity is iconic high-life musician Amanzaba Nat Brew, and he has been speaking about why he endorsed President Mahama.
Unlike the funeral of his late uncle, the late President Professor Atta Mills, Amanzaba did not compose a song for President Mahama, but he was among a list of celebrated Ghanaians who openly declared support for the president. Amanzaba said he was approached by an unnamed company while he was in hospital and asked if he would like to endorse the president. According to the singer, he agreed to do the endorsement because of his personal relationship with John Mahama, adding, and I quote, "I didn't endorse a political dog. I was endorsing someone I knew personally." So for those of you who are wondering why Amanzaba, like some other noted personalities, decided to stick their necks out, there you have it. But who could this political dog be? You sure can trust showbiz to nose around for some answers.
Delivered. That's it for tonight. My
and that is how we end showbiz for tonight. As always, my name is Marian Tura. Join me again for my next segment on